I pray, I'm going to give you a couple things. This is not going to be a long message, but I believe it's going to be a powerful message and that it's going to touch your heart. I want to encourage you today, daughters, sisters, wives, mothers, you have a wonderful Father who sees you and hears you, and he wants to honor you. You are loved and cherished. Ladies, you are your Father's daughter, and you hold a very special place in his heart. I want you to walk away with a greater revelation of his love. I hope that love penetrates your heart deeply and brings peace and healing. And when you leave today, I hope you receive strength, comfort, and I hope as a mother, you leave knowing your Father hears you, sees you, and honors you. There's a lot of moms going through changes. We all go through changes. Some of you your kids are graduating soon. That's a tough one, isn't it? Nobody really gets it until you've been there. I've had to graduate, and it can be challenging. But God sees you. We have new moms here that, man, it's a big adjustment, isn't it, becoming a mom? Everything changes inside of you. Suddenly, your focus and your world are these children. They're everything. The term mama bear, there's a term mama bear for a reason, right? We can all be a mama bear. I was trying to describe my daughter, our daughter. She's not just mine, but our daughter. She's going to have a baby in September, and I'm going to be a grandma. I was watching Missy last night, so her grandson was walking up to her, and she was walking towards him, and it was like slow motion, and his face lit up, and her face lit up, and they're like running to each other, and I was like, I cannot wait for that. That's what I want. And it was like no one else was around, and they grabbed each other. It was precious. I cannot wait for that. And all of you ladies who are grandmothers have told me how amazing it is, and I know I have no idea, but I cannot wait. But I was telling my daughter what it's like to be a mom. And I was like, it's just this fierce love. I said, it's a love that literally you would do anything for this child, to protect them, to let them know how precious they are. They are your joy, right? They're a gift. Well, I want you to know today that is what you are to your Father. Your first role when you were born into this world was daughter. Before you were a sister, a friend, or a mother, you were and will always be a daughter. You're a daughter of God, and daughter is a term of endearment and represents, I want to show you something on this slide. This is daughter in Hebrew. And you read the word from the right to the left, so it means, this is the pictograph, house or family, cross, mark, sign, covenant. It means you, daughter, are the carrier of the covenant in your home. You're the carrier of his covenant in your home. And daughters become mothers. And mothers are the glue of the home that are still carrying the covenant. When the Bible speaks of the daughters of Jerusalem and the daughters of Zion, it's not excluding men. We hear about the sons of God, right? And we know it includes everybody when he's talking about the sons of God. And when he's talking about the daughters of Zion, he's not saying, well, men, go take a seat. You're not included in this when I speak of the daughters of Zion. But it is a role. Daughters of Zion, you covenant carriers. I want you to hear something. And he often speaks of the daughters of Zion in the Song of Solomon, when he is talking about his love for the church. It is a language when you read that, and I think Missy shared this with me, to read it in the Passion Translation. And when I read it, I was like, oh, this is a language that women understand. That is why he's saying, daughters of Jerusalem, I want you to be a witness of my love. A witness is someone who sees and then tells what they saw. We are to see the love of God, experience the love of God, and share the love of God. This language says, oh, it's beautiful, and it's Christ's words to his church. Listen to this. Come away with me. I have come as you have asked to draw you to my heart and lead you out. For now is the time, my beautiful one. The season has changed. The bondage of your barren winter has ended. And the season of hiding is over and gone. I want to see you, is basically what he's saying. The early signs of my purpose and plans are bursting forth. The budding vines of new life are now blooming everywhere. There's a change in the air. Arise, my love, my beautiful companion, and run with me to the higher place. For now is the time to arise and come away with me. How beautiful your eyes of worship, and how lovely your voice of prayer. That's the language that daughters understand. And we're to experience it and to tell it. Daughters, you must know that you're loved, you're seen, and you're heard. And because of that, your Father wants to honor you today. When I was praying about this message, I asked the Lord, I didn't have a Mother's Day message. I was like, Lord, what do you want to say to the mothers? And he said, it was so clear. He said that they are seen, that they are heard, and they are honored. And because of that, they have hope. You are fully seen and known. He hears your every prayer. He hears your heart. When your heart is breaking and when it is joyful, he hears it and he sees it. And he honors you, no matter the situation. So let's read about a tale of two women. And this is the scripture that the Lord gave me. So the God who sees and hears, who does he see? It's easy to think that God sees the beautiful, the favored, the lovely. That's easy to imagine, isn't it? And it's true. He does see the beautiful, the favored, and the lovely. But he is the only one that defines what is beautiful, favored, and lovely. He is the one who says what is true. So the first one we're going to talk about is Sarah. And this is found in the book of Genesis. And we're going to read her story. And Sarah, if you don't know, was the wife of Abraham. And Abraham was the man that God chose to make covenant with. And Sarah and Abraham were about 75 when they left their home, and God called them out. And he said, I am going to make Abraham your name great, and you are going to be a nation, a mighty nation, and your descendants are going to be more than the sands and more than the stars in the sky. And Sarah, you're going to be the mother. Okay. They have purpose. They have calling, right? And they have left, and they're doing what God has asked them to do. They're in a land that they do not know, and they're waiting. So let's read. Now there was a famine in the land, and Abram went down to Egypt to dwell there, for the famine was severe in the land. And it came to pass when he was close to entering Egypt that he said to Sarah his wife, Indeed, I know that you are a woman of beautiful countenance. Therefore it will happen, when the Egyptians see you, they will say, This is his wife, and they will kill me. But they'll let you live. So please say you're my sister, that it may be well with me for your sake, and that I may live because of you. So it was when Abram came to Egypt that the Egyptians saw the woman, that she was very beautiful. The princes of Pharaoh also saw her and commended her to Pharaoh, and the woman was taken to Pharaoh's house. He treated Abram well for her sake. He had sheep, oxen, male donkeys, male and female servants, female donkeys, and camels. But the Lord plagued Pharaoh and his house with great plagues because of Sarah, Abram's wife. And Pharaoh called Abram and said, "What is this you have done to me? Why did you not tell me that she was your wife? Why did you say she's my sister? Might I have taken her to be as my wife? Now, therefore, here is your wife. Take her and go away." So Pharaoh commanded his men concerning him, and they sent him away with the wife and all that he had. Sarah's beauty at that age was so magnificent that word spread through an entire nation, Egypt, of how beautiful Sarah was. And the princes of Egypt saw her, and eventually Pharaoh saw her, and he's like, I have to have this woman as my wife. She is beautiful. And the Lord said, no, she's not your wife. Sarah has been set aside for Abram. And he plagued. Let's go on to Genesis 21 through 8. This is several years later. Now Abraham journeyed from there forward to Negev, the south country, and settled between Kadesh and Shur. And then he lived permanently in Gerar. And Abraham said again of Sarah his wife, "She is my sister." So Abimelech, king of Gerar, sent and took Sarah into his harem. But God came to Abimelech in a dream during the night and said, "Behold, you are a dead man, because the woman who you have taken as your wife, for she is another man's wife." Now Abimelech had not yet come near her, so he said, "Lord, will you kill a people who are righteous and innocent and blameless regarding Sarah? Did Abraham not tell me she's my sister?" And she herself said, "He's my brother. In the integrity of my heart and innocence of my hands, I've done this." Then God said to him in the dream, "Yes, I know you did this in the integrity of your heart, for it was I who kept you back and spared you from sinning against me. Therefore, I did not give you an opportunity to touch her. So now return the man's wife, for he is a prophet, and he will pray for you, and you will live. But if you do not return her to him, know that you shall die, and all who are yours and your household." So Abimelech got up early in the morning and called all his servants and told them these things. And the men were terrified. Then Abimelech called Abraham and said to him, "What have you done to us? And how have I offended you that you have brought me and my kingdom so great a sin? You have done to me what not ought to be done to anyone." And Abimelech said to Abraham, "What have you encountered or seen in us, in our customs, that you have done this unjust thing?" And Abraham said, "Because I thought, surely there is no fear or reverence of God in this place, and they will kill me because of my wife. Besides, she is actually my half-sister. She's the daughter of my father, but not my mother, and she became my wife. When God caused me to wander from my father's house, I said to her, 'This kindness and loyalty you can show me. At every place we stop, say of me, he is my brother.' Then Abimelech took sheep and oxen and male and female slaves, and he gave them to Abraham and returned Sarah, his wife, to him as God commanded. So Abimelech said, 'Behold, my land is before you. Settle whatever you please.' And then he went to Sarah, and he said, 'Look, I have given this brother of yours 1,000 pieces of silver. It's to compensate you for all that's happened and to vindicate your honor before all who are with you, before all men. You are cleared and compensated.'" So Sarah is not really being taken care of by her husband in this moment. And aren't you glad that God will show us the whole story and not just the pretty parts? If we didn't get to see all the parts, we would think we could never do this. But he shows the humanity through the stories. He shows the failures and he shows the redemption. So we know that Abraham had this problem. He dealt with fear. Abraham dealt with fear, but what did he become? The father of faith. And he no longer dealt with fear because he became the father of faith. But we do see that Abraham was not treating his wife with honor. He was just letting her go off, and God would rescue her. And then he would clear her name, and he would keep these men far from her. And then even these men would come and say, I apologize and I honor you. And whatever I need to do to restore, I'll do. God honored Sarah. Sarah was the princess. God saw and honored her situation both times. Sarah was in covenant because of Abraham, and Sarah's beauty was so incredible that Pharaoh himself wanted her as his wife when they traveled to Egypt. King Abimelech wanted her as his wife. Everyone saw Sarah. Everyone saw her, and everyone listened when Sarah spoke. They paid attention when Sarah walked in the room. She had favor, grace, and promise, and her name meant the princess, not a princess, the princess, and she fit the role. Now we're going to talk about another woman, Hagar. Maybe you don't. I don't know if any of us identify with Sarah. Hagar, her name means flight, forsaken, alien, foreigner. Hagar means someone that runs and hides. She's forsaken, and she doesn't belong. Hagar was Sarah's Egyptian servant. I believe when they went to Egypt, it was more than likely when Hagar began to serve Sarah. So Hagar knew the story of Pharaoh, and she was there when Abimelech tried to take her as his wife also. Hagar knew that Sarah was the princess, but Hagar had no promise. Hagar was forsaken and a foreigner. No one saw Hagar. No one spoke of her beauty. No one admired her. Hagar's name meant flight, forsaken, alien, and foreigner, and she fit that role. But if we look at Genesis 16, we're going to see Hagar's beautiful story. Now Sarah, Abraham's wife, had borne him no children, and she had an Egyptian maidservant whose name was Hagar. So Sarah said to Abraham, "See now, the Lord has restrained me from bearing children. Please go to my maid, and perhaps I shall obtain children by her." And Abram heeded the voice of Sarah. Then Sarah, Abram's wife, took Hagar, her maid, the Egyptian, and gave her to her husband Abraham to be his wife. And after Abram had dwelt 10 years in the land of Canaan, so he went to Hagar, and she conceived. And when she saw that she had conceived, her mistress became despised in her eyes. And then Sarah said to Abraham, "My wrong be upon you." I love that. Sarah knew who she was, didn't she? She said, "My wrong be unto you. I became despised in her eyes." Oh, I'm sorry. "The Lord judge between you and me." So Abraham said to Sarah, "Indeed, your maid is in your hand. Do to her as you please." And when Sarah dealt harshly with her, she fled from her presence, because that's what Hagar did. Now the angel of the Lord found her by a spring of water in the wilderness, by the spring on the way to Shur. And he said, "Hagar, Sarah's maid, where have you come from, and where are you going?" And she said, "I am fleeing from the presence of my mistress Sarah." And the angel of the Lord said to her, "Return to your mistress and submit yourself under her hand." Then the angel of the Lord said to her, "I will multiply your descendants exceedingly, and they shall not be counted for the multitude." He goes on to say, I realize I didn't put this on my slide. He goes on to say, "Because of your affliction, I am going to make your son's name great. You're going to name him Ishmael, which means the God who hears." Hagar said, "This day, God," it was the angel of the Lord in the Old Testament. That meant God himself came down. And she said, "He let me see him, and he saw me, and he is El Roi, the God who sees." That is the first time in the Word of God that he is revealed as the God who sees. And then he said, you will name your son Ishmael, which means God hears. And he gave her that promise because of your affliction, not because of Abraham, not because of any other reason, but because I saw you, Hagar. And I came down to visit you and reveal myself as Elroy, the God who sees. We have two women on each end. You have the princess and you have the rejected, and yet God honors them both. You can find yourself somewhere in the middle. You can find yourself either between Sarah or Hagar, and let me tell you, you are seen and you are heard, and God wants to honor you. Hallelujah. It said, because the Lord has heard and paid attention to your affliction. When you're in those quiet moments and you feel alone, He sees you. Moms, when you're praying over your children, He hears you. When you feel like you've been rejected and you're a foreigner and you just don't belong, He says, you belong to me. You're mine. God honored Sarah by vindicating her, changing her name, giving her a son. And God honored Hagar by seeing and hearing her affliction, giving her a son, making him a great nation, and instructing her to call him Ishmael, the God who hears. He chose to reveal himself to this slave woman who was rejected and abandoned. These two stories show us God's character, and He never changes. These two women, like I said, was so far apart, but God loved them both. God honored the Shunammite woman. Do you remember the Shunammite woman? She was a woman, it said, of noble character, who when the prophet would come through, she would make room for him. And because she made room for him, the prophet said, what would you like? You know what? You don't have a son. You're going to have a son. You're going to become a mother. And she said, don't say that to me. I didn't ask. Don't. And he said, no, you will. And so she had a son. And when her son died one day, probably from a brain aneurysm, she went straight, boldly, to the prophet of God. She said, I didn't ask you. But you told me I'd have a son. Now you come with me. And the prophet went with her, and her son was revived. Well, then there was a famine in the land, and she had to leave her home and everything that they had. And when she gets back, everything's gone. She had been gone. And so she went to the king, boldly before the king. And she said, I need my things back. I need my home back. I need everything that's mine back. And he said, I was just talking to the prophet's servant, and he told me about you. Give her everything she wants. Restore it. God honored her. God honored Bathsheba. Bathsheba was a beautiful woman who was minding her own business, who was seen by King David. Bathsheba was married to Uriah, and he was off at war. And David sent for Bathsheba, and he took her as his, as he should not have done. And then he killed her husband. Bathsheba was heartbroken and had been wronged severely. And God, in his beautiful, he saw her. And he told the prophet, he said, go talk to Bathsheba and tell her that her son is going to be the king of Israel. Bathsheba had just been another wife. And suddenly, she is now the queen. Because when your son's going to be king, you're now the queen. Are you seeing a pattern? The princess, the queen, the Shunammite woman. What is he saying about you? You are his. And he sees you and he honors you. And so Bathsheba went to the king and said, my son is supposed to be king. And David said, okay. And her son became the wisest king that ever lived. And he ruled. Oh, there was never a time that Israel was more great than under his rule. It was peace, prosperity. The Queen of Sheba was like, it can't be as good as they say that it is. I need to meet this man and I need to see this kingdom. And she got there and she said, it's better. How can it be better? This was Bathsheba's son. And when the Lord said it, he said, Bathsheba will have the king of Israel, Uriah's wife. Why do you think he put that in there? To let her know, I know. I know what happened to you, and I'm honoring you. God honored Mary, the mother of Jesus. How many have you heard that Jesus would often say, I only do the things that I see my Father do, and I only say the things I hear my Father say? Jesus had gone to a wedding, and they ran out of wine. And Mary, the mother of Jesus, goes to the servants, and she goes to Jesus, and she's like, listen, you do whatever he tells you to. Jesus, take care of it. And he goes, it's not time for me. I've not heard my Father say anything yet. And she said, just do what he says. That was his first miracle. It was so significant. It was prophetic. And God said, Mom, you get to do this one. This is him launching into ministry, and you know what that means. So, Mom, you get to do this one. Yeah, it does have to be that way. He's going to have to listen to me. He's going to have to hear me and see me and only do those things that I say and that I show him. But you get this. Because I'm honoring you. Jesus honored the woman at the well. Jesus sent his disciples away, and he sat there and he waited for this Samaritan woman that all Jews despised. But even that, she was despised among her own people. Even her own people didn't like her. She had to go in the hottest part of the day to draw water because she was rejected, like Hagar. She didn't want to be seen. She didn't want to be heard. So she goes to the well, and there's Jesus, and he said, would you get me some water? And she's got a little bit of a chip on her shoulder, and she's like, why would you ask me for water? You're a Jew, and I'm a Samaritan. Everybody rejects me. He goes, if you knew who you were talking to, you would ask me for living water. And you that have been searching and so desperate to be loved would never thirst again. Your soul's desire would be quenched. So she goes off. She's not getting it. And he said, go get your husband. And she's like, oh, I don't have a husband. He's like, you're right. You have 5. I don't think he said it that way. He goes, you're right. You have 5. And the man that you're with isn't your husband. She's like, who? You're a prophet. That's who you are. Jesus loved this woman. He honored her. He gave her a beautiful message forever in his word. We read of her story. We get encouragement. We get life. We get strength out of it. For how many years? Thousands. He honored her that day. The woman that no one saw, the woman that no one honored, the woman that no one cared for. God has honored you. How many stories have not been told? How many times has a daughter found herself lost and alone in a desert, and the God of heaven saw her? How many stories have we just not heard of God seeing us, hearing us, and honoring us? Mother, daughter, you are not alone. God hears your prayers and He sees you, and you are cherished and loved. When you feel underqualified and your heart hurts and you think you're not enough, when you're happy, but the worrisome thoughts or the heaviness and care for your family is pressing in, I want you to remember Queen Esther. Her home and her people had been threatened. Her very existence, everyone that she loved and cared for, was to be wiped off the earth. There's a bit of a heaviness to that, isn't there? She knew she had to go before the king. She prayed before going to the king, because without being summoned, it could end in death. She prayed. She clothed herself in royal garments, and she went and made her request. The king responded with, "You have found favor, and what would you like? Up to half my kingdom." Daughter? Oh, daughter, you are your father's. You are the king's daughter, and you are precious in his sight. You just need to get up, go before the king, and ask him for help. Let's go to Hebrews 4. It says, "Seeing then that we have a great high priest who has passed through the heavens, Jesus the Son of God, let us hold fast our confession. For we do not have a high priest who cannot sympathize with our weaknesses, but in all parts was tempted as we are, yet without sin. Daughters, let us come boldly to the throne of grace, that we may obtain mercy and find grace in our time of need." Just like Queen Esther, the king will see you, hear you, and honor you. He loves you. He loves you. You are precious. I hope that what you are hearing by the Holy Spirit, husbands, sons, daughters, mothers, is that his daughters hold a special place in his heart. You are treasure. How many dads have little girls? How many of you daddies have daughters? Do you dads get it, what I'm talking about with little girls? Can you imagine if your sweet little daughter walked up to you and said, "Dad, I have a need. Half my kingdom. What do you want?" Right? I know. I've seen it. Half my kingdom. Daughters have a hard time doing something wrong. You know, what I kind of chuckled at was, did you notice when Sarah admitted when she, gave Hagar to Abraham to be his wife? She goes, "Listen, I may have been wrong, but it's on your head, because you didn't stop me." And she goes, "Let the Lord decide between me and you." And Abraham goes, "Whoa, whoa, 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 whoa. I am not letting the Lord decide between me and you, because I kind of know where that's going to go." And Abraham's already in fear, right? He's like, "No, you do whatever you need to do to make this right in your eyes." Daughters, mothers, I know our children are precious to us. Grandmothers, I know you never quit being a mom. My mom is still a mom. My mom still mothers me. She's a wonderful mom. But moms, you need to remember your daughters too. That you have a place before the King. And He wants to honor you today.